Heavy Sun is a dream come true for me. I always wanted to be part of a singing group. I've loved harmonies since I was a kid.
People got the power.
If I was to change the camera 180 degrees, you would see my Hammond B3 celebrated on an altar. And so it has always held that position for me. It brings out a certain kind of feeling in people. I guess that's why churches have organs.
The people got the power. Why can't we be together?
You can hear a good example of that on a song called Most of the Time. A very beautiful, intimate vocal, and then the drums, most of the duck. JD, is that you?
Yes, that's me. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, do you want the glasses on or off? Are you getting too much glare?
I think it's better to take them off. There's a lot of glare on the top side of the glasses.
There we go. Are my eyes glaring too much?
No. How have you been? Good?
I've been good, thank you. In Toronto mostly for the last 8 months. And everything's fine, making some new music on the piano this time. I'm pretty excited about it because I'm naive on the piano, so it's nice to be naive and apply my sense of melody to that instrument. It's fun.
What is naive?
The naive I'm talking about relates to music and an instrument. And it's the kind of feeling that you might have in you when you're a junior guitar player, in my case. I might only know a few notes, but the few notes that I know, I play with a lot of commitment. So it's another way to look at it would be you're innocent and you come upon a medium, and within that medium you express yourself with what you have inside you as an emotional person. And then the restriction of one's skill on the instrument might be okay as long as you choose the right 5 notes to play. So that's what I mean about naive.
Is the Heavy Sun album your organ period?
The Heavy Sun album is very much the organ period, yes.
If you feel like you wanna dance, go ahead and do your dance. Dance on, dance on, dance on, yeah. Dance on. If you feel like
I've been in love with the Hammond organ since I was a teenager. I've had one in my studio ever since. If I was to change the camera 180 degrees, you would see my Hammond B3 celebrated on an altar. And so it has always held that position for me. It brings out a certain kind of feeling in people. I guess that's why churches have organs. So I love the organ because it's the simplicity of it is not only its appeal, but its capacity to cover so much ground. It can handle the bass with the pedals. You can play the chords and you can play the melody. So as a solo musician, you could sound like a full band.
whatever you do, don't let nobody steal your joy from you. Dance on.
I love the song Way Down on the new album. Such a great song.
That was made in Los Angeles. It's a title that Rocco DeLuca came up with, and he wanted to talk about an imaginary place that you would get to where you are not bought or you are not sold, some kind of a place of cleansing or freedom.
I'm looking for a city on the other side, and when I get there, I'll be satisfied.
I like that subject matter. It's about utopia. It's a bit of the streets with no name. A lot of people have talked about it. John Lennon did it with Imagine. That's just that place that you might get to where you're not shackled by the usual responsibilities.
Way down, way down, way down, way down city on the other side, way down.
Rocco had a couple of lines to start with, and I introduced some chords, and then Johnny played the bass line on the organ. It's a very unusual chorus because it ends on a diminished chord, which you don't hear too often in popular songs. It's very tender. It was cut to a beatbox. I don't think there are even drums on that. It's just this little beatbox, and I'm running. My guitar part has a descending bass line, dum 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 dum, and then you keep it ding, reading into the top. It's got a little bit of a bell tolling, repeating itself. So you get the motion of descent as if you're about to go to that place way down. But the top bell keeps ringing like the bell tower to remind you of how to get back.
Nice. Thank you very much for this explanation. Beautiful, really beautiful.
Way down, way down, way down, way down, that beautiful city on the other side, way down.
What is the story of Heavy Sun?
Heavy Sun is a dream come true for me. I always wanted to be part of a singing group. I've loved harmonies since I was a kid. And when I met Johnny Shepard from Shreveport, I thought he might be the component we're looking for to complete this singing quartet. He was choir director, organist, and great singer in that church. I presented the idea to Rocco DeLuca. Wouldn't it be nice to have a choir director in our quartet? So that's how it started. It all fell into place, and I thought, well, I'll strike while the iron's hot. Johnny's term had come to an end at the Zion Baptist Church, and I invited him to roll the dice and come and see us in Los Angeles. And he did that, so I thank Johnny.
People got the power. People got the power. People got the power. Power. People got the power.
It's wonderful to hear you say a dream come true, because if I look at the things that you did, the bands that you used to work with, the people you had in your studio environment, I mean, it's still possible to have a dream come true after so many collaborations over the years.
It's how we keep learning, is through new experience. And so I'm discovering things about harmony singing that are new to me. For those who don't sing in choirs or with groups of singers, there may be a lead melody, but the other singers don't just follow the lead melody with a support harmony. Sometimes we just block the chords, is what we call it. And so that's a real lesson in itself, that you would have the discipline to do block chording as a second division singer.
People got the power. People got the power.
It's a beautiful explanation of how you can make a dream come true. I mean, learning how to go along with vocals, directed by a vocal director. I mean, that's great, that's great. How different is that, for instance, from, let's say, the first singer that you worked with, Martha and the Muffins? She was also a singer. I mean, singing and singing is not one, of course.
If someone is the lead singer in the band and they're singing a song that's just one voice, then that's the center of the picture. And it carries the message, the lyric, and that person becomes the focal point. When there's harmony singing, we don't occupy center stage, we occupy cooperation and blend, and we do everything in our power to fit in with the other singers. So it's a very different responsibility.
Yeah.
I like both. I like people who take center stage, as Bob Dylan would, and we do everything to frame his story and his lyrics and his beautiful voice, and that would be the job at hand. But when we have group singing, then the responsibility shifts to blend.
People got the power. We know truth and love. People got the power in the heart of man. We got the power. Gotta put on our armor. People got the power. Take the right to stand. Why can't we live together? No,
If you have one vocal, like for instance Bob Dylan, and you have 4 vocals, like for instance a choir, does it need a different technique? I mean, do you need to use different microphones, or do you need to level the levels, the balances in a different way? How does it work in practice?
Well, balance is a good word. It's part of blend. And in our case, we all held microphones, much like the one I'm holding now, a Shure microphone. Yeah. But we sang close together. So each voice got a track to record on, but we were, just feet apart. And you can think of it, in our case, as an extension of kitchen singing. You get together with friends and you sing in the kitchen, and it feels nice because it's intimate. Yeah. So we did our kitchen singing right at the mixer. Behind me, you can see my speakers and then the mixer. So that's where I usually stand. Wayne Lorenz, who I work with, you spoke with him for a minute, he'll do a setup for me. And the setup will be the 4 microphones for the 4 singers, and I run the track through the speakers, no headphones. We don't put the voices in the speakers, we just hear our voices in the kitchen. And we run the music soft enough that we don't have leakage into the mics too much, and then the voices command the sound of the room. And then I just adjust with my left hand, I adjust the punch-ins, and maybe I bring up the drums or the beatbox a little bit at a time when we might likely go out of phrasing. So I'm constantly massaging the mixer to accommodate the singers. And then we do perhaps one stanza, play the stanza back, and I bring up the faders for the 4 singers, and we get to hear the result of our blend. And we might switch parts because Rocco has a beautiful high voice, as Johnny does. So we might say, well, Rocco, you take the top part, and Johnny will come down below, and we might swap parts around until we hit what we call the sweet spot.
She's alive. She's alive. Glad I've got a mother still alive.
Those were 4 vocals. How does it work with someone like Dylan or Bono? They have their own characteristic voice, of course. Do you do that differently because there's only one vocal, there's only one personality? How does it work technically spoken?
What is the same about it in case of Bono and Bob Dylan, we both use speakers, no headphones. So the U2 studio has the band room and then has the control room where we keep couches, and there's always one of these Shure microphones under the cushion for Bono. And then we get the mix happening, so it's exciting, and then he picks up the mic and off he goes. So it always resembles the sensation of stage, because he's a great stage man, and so why not take advantage of where he's most comfortable. With Bob Dylan, I did the same thing. I made 2 records with Bob. The first one was called Oh Mercy, and it was a very intimate environment, and we cut most things to a Roland 808, which is a little beatbox, and I had the beatbox coming through a wedge at his feet, and I sat next to him, we played our guitars, and he sang the song. This gave me the flexibility of overdubbing drums after, because we had metronomic time. You can hear a good example of that on a song called Most of the Time. A very beautiful, intimate vocal, and then the drums, most of the with echo on them. We were afforded flexibility of going to echoes on the drums because we had fixed time. So there are advantages to working that way. And then with Time Out of Mind later with Bob, we had quite a big band in the room. Same thing. He just sang to the band and to speakers.
Now, when I look at your background, I see a beautiful recording desk. I see some analog stuff as well. Are you a collector yourself?
Not so much these days. I've collected some very nice instruments. I have some nice selection of old Fender amps that I love to this day. And, I'm into pianos. I have, I think 6 Steinways of sorts. And I'm constantly on the lookout for a piano that will have a certain kind of personality. I'll wander on over here so you can hear what I'm talking about. So this is my upright here, which and then I'll go to the grand that I've modified. See how that one sounds buttery? That's because we got in there and we put a little cover over top of every hammer, so that because I got tired of the real bang bang sound and I wanted something soft. So we managed to turn a very expensive Steinway grand into a Fender Rhodes piano.
Can you see this?
2 meters. Oh, I do see it. 89, my goodness.
Yeah, September 5, 1989.
Were you born then?
Well, I did my show on radio there, and you came in with an acoustic guitar and did 2 songs.
Y a quelqu'un qui appelle mon nom. Y a quelqu'un qui appelle mon nom. On travaille aujourd'hui, on travaille sous la pluie, on travaille au tabac esti.
Can you shift things? Oh, that's my production work, and that's me being the singer-songwriter. How does it work?
Well, it started out as just being enthusiastic about a medium. I was very excited to have a little tape recorder, and that's how it started. It was just a little flea market machine, and I got more machines and more machines, and I just loved the recording studio and the possibilities that came our way to create. And I always liked helping people. I never knew what a record producer was. I was just running this little recording studio with my brother Bob, and we helped some local people to make records. And I thought, oh, this is really wonderful and exciting. But all along, I was a guitar player, and I traveled all over Canada playing guitar for a lot of great artists. So I was a touring musician quite young. And I never thought I should write songs until much later, when Anthea Norman Taylor, a great woman from England, she started a label with Brian Eno called Opal Records. She said, would you like to make a record for Opal? I said, okay. And then I did it.
And that was the album Acadie.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
So before that, I didn't think I should make a record. I just wasn't interested until somebody asked.
Wow. How do you look at it nowadays? I still love On Travail. I still love Jolie Louise. They're so nice.
Well, those are true stories. I think that's why I went to them, because I thought, what am I going to write about? And I thought, well, these are real life stories. Jolie Louise about my parents splitting up, and Au Mari, Au Travail, that's about tobacco picking. French Canadians picked tobacco in Ontario at the time for the English tobacco farmers, and so it's something that I knew something about. I guess, as is often the case with people's first records, they draw from life experience. And lucky for me, after that, I got to travel, so I got some new experiences to write about for other records. So, but that's the innocent one, the first one.
I'm trading pity for kindness, hatred for love.
Thank you very much for your time now.
Thank you again, JD, for your time. And you're way too young to have met me when you said you did. I think that's a lie.
Thank you very much.
You found the fountain of youth. Tell me where it is.
It's in the Netherlands, in the lowlands.
Okay, good.
Thanks a lot.
All right, my brother.
Bye.
Thanks for your sense of humor.
Bye, Daniel. Thanks very much.